I hope you are ready for the deep dive we're going to take today with Dr. Nisha Manek. Nisha is an alumnus of the Mayo Clinic's Division of Rheumatology and an internationally recognized leader in integrative medicine. Nisha turned her scientific expertise to the singular question that vexes humanity, the nature of consciousness. And in her best-selling Bridging Science and Spirit, The Genius of William A. Tiller's Physics and the Promise of Informational Medicine, she presents evidence that human consciousness has the power to change our world. In her commitment to innovative approaches to health and wellness, she seeks to unify her work as a physician and scientist with spiritual inquiry and practice. A couple of fun facts about this amazing doctor and her desire to link science and spirituality. Related to consciousness and healing, Nisha moderated with the 14th Dalai Lama's visit to the Mayo Clinic in 2008. And she's a fellow of the American College of Physicians and the Royal College of Physicians of the United Kingdom. And a few more fun facts. She was born in Kenya, is an avid reader, a vegetarian cook, and a meditator. Her mantra is pray, eat, and exercise. And I want to dive just a little bit into her book before I introduce you fully to her. So does the physics of consciousness have you scratching your head? Want to know how intentions can improve your life? And ever wonder where science and spirituality might intersect? Teaming up with physicist Professor William A. Tiller, Dr. Nisha Manek is a well-versed in the trailblazing scientist's cutting-edge research in consciousness and intention. Now she's slicing through the scientific jargon with an insider's book into how intention will be the next big medical breakthrough. Thank goodness. Bridging Science and Spirit, the Genius of William A. Tiller's Physics and the Promise of Informational Medicine, is a guide to how the mysterious power of human intention makes things happen. And if you like expert insights, complex scientific concepts explained in everyday language, and intellectually energizing material, then you're going to love Dr. Nisha Manek's unprecedented resource. You're listening to Be Well with Michelle Greenwell. This is Season 2, Lucky Episode 13, The Science of Intention with Dr. Nisha Manek. Welcome, Nisha. I'm so glad we're finally able to gather and have this conversation.
Michelle, it's a pleasure to be with you, and hello from California.
Where it's sunny, beautiful. We have a snowstorm on the East Coast.
I love Michelle, I just heard, though, that the Groundhog Day was about 10 days ago. Mm-hmm. And when I see my patients on camera, I do telemedicine, they say the prairie dogs are out, which is spring is here. So woohoo for that. Yes. I've lived in Minnesota for many years, Michelle, so I was a witness, you might say, to below 50 temperatures for many weeks. And I learned something: layer up and take your vitamin D.
That's right. And spring is always just around the corner.
Yeah.
Before we dive in today, I always like to start with a cup of innovation. What have you got to share with everyone today?
Well, your intention matters. Your intention to switch on Michelle's podcast and be present, that's intention at work. And it matters because that's going to change your life. Once you get more and more finer and more focused, watch the magic. And you know what? We are magical. Human beings, we're just a little slow and asleep, but Tiller's work really opened my eyes, and really it resurrected my whole love of science, because science was A plus B equals AB. And I thought, no, we want to go all the way to Z now. We're ready. We got to jump away from kindergarten. So if there's one message I want to ask your viewers and listeners is pay attention to your intentions, because it matters in your health, in your business, in your children, in your very life. So I'm going to leave it there. Intention matters. Yes.
So as you pick up your cup of what you have for today, now as people are thinking about if they've made their cup of tea or whatever it is they're going to be drinking while they're listening to the podcast, what have you got in your cup?
I have Kashmiri Kava tea. Kashmiri Kava is a green tea with cardamom, but you can't see it. The lemon slice is sort of sunk at the bottom, but it's quite delicious. I cheers to you, Michelle.
Awesome, thank you. I put into my mug today Releasing the Warrior. And this
Oh,
actually is from the wood element from Five Elements. And this is out of our Tea with Intention series that we have with the Cape Breton Tea Company. And Releasing the Warrior is always a good one when you're on the edge of change and the edge of wanting something different. As we're going into
yeah.
intention today, I thought this is the time to put that in there because we're all looking at this new year. We're looking at how are we making changes and how do we have them stick and know that we've done the right thing. And then I put them into my business mug. So my dance debut, which is in transformation from being strictly dance routine kind of activities to
Yeah.
being movement for specialty and for healing with the body. And so I cheers you.
So the really interesting point, for 3 years, we have together as a common human family witnessed something that defies even explanation. We will look back and say, first of all, what happened?
Mm-hmm.
And then we have emerged with, there are many different directions going on right now. And this is the time to be totally conscious. Because once a warrior is conscious, all power. Okay, no, I mean it. That means
Mm-hmm.
you have to have a singular focus and just your cup of tea, the way you have said, yes, this too has importance in that intention, exactly right. And this is the time to do it because we are moving into a very uncharted territory. I'll tell you, in medicine, it's very uncharted. There's lots of changes afoot. Okay. And so now we all rise up to take our positions to recreate something. They say bring back better. I'm saying, no, we, the human species, is rising up.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to throw off many shackles, I call it, and really come into our own, to our own warrior state. Because ultimately, Michelle, the biggest thing about humanity is this: we're actually loving things. We're loving beings. We care for each other. So whatever we may see out there, the fact that we feel something, I witness Turkey, I feel something. When I witness something else, I feel something. It's not just sympathy, it is I feel the pain. That's human condition. We're not separate, You're in Nova Scotia, I am in California, but boy, are we connected.
Mm-hmm.
Human family. And one thing I can tell you and I'm going to mention William Tiller's science, he showed scientifically, the word entanglement, right?
Mm-hmm.
Means things are connected to a different degree, but they are. And science has shown that. Physics certainly has looked at that. And it happens instantaneously. It's not the speed of light, it's even faster than that.
Mm-hmm.
Tiller showed that it isn't just true for microscopic world, the electrons and the photons, which is light. Human beings, macroscopic, giant things are connected. And it isn't phone lines. We're connected by the field, a field of consciousness. Consciousness isn't a thing. It's not in here. We point to our heads when we talk about that. The amazing thing is consciousness is a field. It's not a thing. And the other thing I would just say on this topic of consciousness is it's not from your brain. It's not emanating from your brain. Your brain is important as a perceptual organ. you have perceptions, and you have a filing cabinet, very fancy, okay? We have memories and we categorize. It's part of our education and part of our growing upness, language and all that. So consciousness field, the brain is a filing cabinet and a perceptual tool. So if consciousness is everywhereness, not locked in space and time, wow. Okay, so we are connected. And that's what I would say, that we are feeling emotional beings, and we are connected to all events around the earth by our very nature of consciousness. Thank goodness, because that already opens up another aspect if we're connected. And that is the aspect of intention and prayer. Okay. People say, oh yeah, but how can grandma's prayer in Canada, in Nova Scotia, reach Nisha sitting in California? How does it know to reach you? How does it know this street address? How does it penetrate the walls of the home, right? Because we know distance healing works. And that's where the magic, again, is of consciousness, because we think, and I'm pointing to my head here, sorry, it's not here, but I'll tell you, consciousness is not electromagnetic. It doesn't go through a telephone wire and decay at the other end is white noise and static and all that. No, subtle energies. We are composed of subtle energies. Those are subtle, but they're very powerful. They can bend steel like butter, okay? That's spoon bending. So subtle energies are not impeded by any physical blocks. Not your concrete and your wood and your glass, nothing. And it knows exactly Michelle Greenwell and where she is and what she needs. The power of that is unfathomable, really, if you really think about it. Because in science, we think you have to label, you measure, you classify, you dose, you take 2 Tylenol and call me tomorrow, right? We dose.
Yes.
But all bets are off when you think about consciousness and intention. And so I'm going to just stop there because there's such a richness here. And that, and that really shifted me as a physician and how I think of healing, how I think of wellness and the body's, so-called labels of disease. So I'll just stop there and let you just jump in, okay? And you can jump in anytime because I like talking.
I was thinking about, as people try to wrap their heads around this concept, that even you already sense it when you meet someone and immediately you click with that person and both of your energies get so excited about what you're talking about. And that's that connection. And
Yes.
we don't always think about that because we're just kind of thinking that was our day. But no, that's where that full connection is. And when we have that ability to just let it freely go, rather than sometimes our head's full of something, we're not really connected to where we are in space and time, and we're wrapped up in getting tasks done or something, and then we don't connect with people the same way. We don't get that same feeling that comes back, and so that's a different kind of energetic connection.
Yes. So, human Homo sapiens is different that way. I mean, you can look at all the animal kingdom. The pinnacle of existence of biology is Homo sapiens, because I can talk to down and I can write a book, okay? And I can have the creativity, which is intention. Intention is actually a process of creation. And it comes back to this aspect that you're talking about, that Homo sapiens connects, not just intellectually. What you're really talking about is we're connecting through the heart. The heart is a magnetic organ. It is the source, actually, of intelligence. It is the heart that tells your brain what to do and what to think. People say your deepest wishes and what's in your heart's desire. And we think, let me think about this. The conscious mind cannot get there. It won't get there. What you want to do is deep into your heart. Just close your eyes, take a few deep breaths. I teach this to my patients, by the way. Now go into your heart and rest. Rest. We're so busy. Oh, no, rest. And you know what they'll do, Michelle? When I tell them, close your eyes, you have all the time in the world. I'm not going anywhere. I'm right here with you. You're my focus. We're together as a team. We have a relationship, a patient and, in this case, doctor relationship. One is not superior or inferior, okay? We are on the same, we are explorers in this journey of life. And this is what happens when I say, allow your eyes to close. I'm going to breathe with you. And you know what they do? And I didn't say for you to open your eyes yet. So they're not used to having the permission. Just close, rest, rest, rest. You're going to get your answers and all of your medicines and all of your things done. You just rest. Because once you go into the heart and you give it permission, it will give you nuggets that unlock your wellness. I can guarantee you. I guarantee you. And when patients do that faithfully, they get information and energy sources that even their body just absolutely sits up. Okay, they sit up, their eyes are shinier, and I go, okay, there's the new original face. I call it new, but it's really their original. Instead of, I'm in pain and all of this is going on, which it is going on. We're not ignoring it. We're simply saying, okay, it's there. Now just rest into your heart, for it holds the answers. And if you give it meaning, you can dump it. Be aware of that. A lot of people say, oh, but I can't go to Mount Kilimanjaro and climb. That's it. I go, oh, wait, just a moment. What did you just say? Mount Kilimanjaro, you want to go there? Yes, doctor. Okay. So we go there for a few minutes. We want to know and explore, what does this mean? What does this longing really mean to you? And how does it make you feel? How does it make you feel even in your body right now? Because we can go there. Our mind and consciousness is that powerful. You can be in Mount Kilimanjaro right now, right? We know that. So why don't we do this in medicine, right? But the way I think of information medicine is much, much more. We're really, Michelle, smashing every conceivable boundary in medicine. In medicine, we think you have to go to a brick and mortar office. You have to wait in the waiting room. You're pretty reasonable. You have your insurance card. You have 15 minutes with the doctor, who barely looks at you, by the way. Hello. They might know your name. Then you're very, very lucky. Here's your blood test. See you in 3 months, okay? I'm saying what Tiller is showing is that human consciousness is a field. There's no boundaries. It can penetrate the physical abode that you're in. Now, if you have a focused intention to heal someone, what does that do? If I had an intention, which I have done this, by the way, I had a patient who had really serious arthritis and he was suffering. I mean, we had thrown the kitchen sink at the guy, okay? Neurology, pain management, rehabilitation, orthopedics, it went on and on and on, even biofield. No, it was just not working. And I had left this academic career and really wanted to look at my first foray, because you think, what is a physician doing in physics? Has she lost her marbles? I mean, what? Have you lost your marbles, Nisha? My family thought I'd lost my marbles, but I hadn't, because I knew there is a clue in this words, human biofield. But what is that? What is that? Because that's energy. If you want to know energy, you got to do physics, okay? You got to, because in medicine, energy is food. kilocalories
Right.
and you got to
Mm-hmm.
eat your food. Okay, that is not what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I got the window or the opportunity and the door open to study with Tiller, I went for it. There was no doubt in my mind. And he has shown that human intention is a power. Okay, it is absolutely power. The problem is when we have doubts and we go here and then we go here and then we go here and we're not making up our minds.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you even make up your mind? What do you even know that you want? Because I know what happens at the bedside when I do this. Let's dip into your heart and what gives you meaning here. And it's, really, doctor? Yes, we have time. I want you to do this. Just go there. Let's stay there for a few moments. And what comes up? And when you give it meaning, now you have a chance to chart a whole new territory for wellness. And that is not just physical, it's mental, it's emotional, and now we're also touching the spiritual because that has deep meaning for you. Divine is never separate from you. What gives you love is divinity speaking. We don't talk
Mm-hmm.
like that in medicine. God forbid we pray at the bedside, but that's what I think we should go there. Actually, I go there. I go there all the time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, even as you were saying it too, I'm hoping that the listeners got the same, because as you were saying it, I could feel that buzz, that lightness that starts to come into the tissue. And in Tai Chi, we would say the chi is flowing, but
Yeah.
some people might feel it as lightness. And that awareness of that lightness, it's already transforming. So even when you're suggesting in a conversation, find your heart space, you already set the intention, and all people have to do is respond. But then they have
Yes.
that choice. They might choose not to respond because they don't want to go there, don't even know how to go there, or they can respond. And so for me, it was an instant, you were just taking me on the journey. And it's like, yeah. And
Yeah.
someone's listening to me, somebody's paying attention. And
Mhm.
they have, for a few moments, said they will be here beside me, which is lovely. Yeah.
Yes, like I said, we are loving beings. We are meant to connect. And in the last 3 years, we witnessed something quite unprecedented. We dare not hug grandma. I mean, come on, look at what we've done. And we have to reverse all that. And we will. We will. We are very creative beings. But you mentioned something that was so important, Michelle. And in a sense, it was a foray into this area of Qigong and Tai Chi. So I'm in this big academic medical center, it was the Mayo Clinic. And the chairman of Integrative Medicine said, "You really love Qigong. Why don't you write a book chapter on this textbook?" I said, "Oh, now wait a second. I'm not a master healer. Yes, I like it. But there was a separate chapter on Tai Chi. Qigong is its own unique discipline.
That's
Okay.
right. Mm-hmm.
Qigong is really the foundational, it's more meditative. And so I said, okay, I will do it. Because when you commit to do an academic book chapter, that means all your weekends are gone, all your evenings are out the window. You have to do the best you can. And I was worried, Michelle. I was worried about this. And that is how much research is in Qigong anyway? Because when you think medicine, I told you it's A plus B equals AB. You know,
Mm-hmm.
what is Qigong? What is subtle energies? Where are these channels anyway? What are these super highways? Because I'll tell you, medical education there is a gap, there is a deficiency. Why? How? If I take myself back to University of Glasgow in Scotland, I was so dedicated. Honestly, I was so dedicated. I didn't know Latin, but by golly, I was going to memorize that body's anatomy. So you dissect the muscles, the bones, the nerves, and you memorize where are the energy channels? Where do they
Mm-hmm.
exist? In medicine, it's only real if you can see it and measure it and weigh it and take its temperature and use its color and put his the pathology under the slide. There is nothing like that in energy. That's the difficulty. You can already see the second difficulty when I took up this book chapter, Michelle, is this. My world is reading medical journals. I read journals. And what does it cover mostly? I would say nearly 100% in rheumatology, chemicals, new drugs. There's nothing about subtle energies. And yet I knew this is a clue. We have to go there. The third thing, where would I find these journals that really go into Qigong? There's not much. But I did take on that book chapter, and this is what I did discover, even in the limitations I was grappling with. First of all, Qigong has some research. It's limited. It's in children's learning, and boy, do they do well if they do some Qigong exercises and a short meditation in school. All the way to asthma, better bones, osteoporosis, better diabetes control, weight loss, calmer mind. If you're depressed, do some Qigong. It'll balance your brain and its biochemical imbalances. So I was very happy, but I was not satisfied. I was not satisfied. Because it's one thing to gather all these randomized controlled trials, but the whole design is wrong. I told you it defies description.
Yeah.
Okay. So I went into the literature and I went into, energy medicine and all these kind of funky journals, which I never read, but I was determined. I had to. I said, okay, I would go to the, Mayo Clinic library, and she says, you're back again? I said, look, we got to do some work here. Okay. You're going to help me. And that's where I bumped into William Tiller. He had written some papers in medical journals. Thank God. A physicist writing for medicine is unheard of, but he had. And he had written one very seminal paper, 1993, What Are Subtle Energies? The title. I went, oh my God, that's it, And there were other references, and he's full of equations and terminology. And I thought, oh man, I don't understand this. But here's the thing. Just like you felt something as I was speaking about the heart, I'm reading this paper, reads like a lab manual, and I felt something. And I thought, I gave it meaning. I went, this is not fake. I need to contact this man. I put it's in the book chapter. It was showing up as a reference, a couple of his papers, and I proceeded to contact him. He had left Stanford by then. It was in 2006 or something like that. And he had moved to Arizona. He was still doing research. He had spent most of his career at Stanford University. He's an engineer, okay? He has a mathematical, excellent mind in the linear science. I call it linear. You do A plus B equals AB, that kind of a world. He knew it. But here's the difference with Tiller, Michelle. And when you get a teacher like that, you say yes. You say yes. You do not hesitate. You say, I want to be under your wing. For 30 years plus, actually, Tiller had a meditation practice. He meditated for an hour every day. He read the Psalms every day. So he was a spiritual adept and had the excellence in science. They were not separate. In his life, they both informed how he lived his life, how he showed up in life, how he connected with other humans. For example, I come along, and if I had a question about an equation, he'd be totally present, would answer me about energy and subtle energies. And if I had a spiritual crisis, Dr. Tiller, this is happening to me, he'd be right there and answer you. There was no difference for him. You could be in the intellectual world or you could be in the heart world. They were both the same for him. And that was very unusual, because when I took these kinds of questions to other colleagues, they looked puzzled, like, why bother with that? We cannot brush things under the rug. That you can't brush that away. And so when you have a spiritual question and a crisis, and we are in a sort of a way warriors, we are in a sort of an upside down world. And so we have to look at it with compassion, but also have the right action. Tiller always knew. He always knew. You have to have the intellect. You respect it, but you also bring in the spiritual gifts. Now you can shine something quite unique into the linear world. And now you build a bigger science, because the instruments with science are limited. We didn't know about germs until we got a microscope. Galileo did not know Jupiter had all these moons until he looked at it with some brushed glass in a long tube we call a telescope. You can see how passionate I get.
Well, and it's so valuable, right? Because people think that the science is right here, and it's like the science has risen to this place, but where has it not gone? What has it not
Where
seen?
has it not gone? Exactly. And I'll tell you, medical sciences and the medical education that I did, and it was one of the top in the United Kingdom, did not tell me about cell energies. It did not tell me about human consciousness. It did not tell me about human intention. And I knew as I went up the ladder in my career, and I reached really quite high pinnacles, and you go, wait a second, there has to be more than drugs. And there is. And there is. Okay, I told you we're physical, we're mental, we're emotional, we have spirituality and spiritual beings. Tiller always said, we're spiritual beings having a physical existence. We're exploring this schoolhouse earth, but you have to grow. You have to leave the kindergarten some point, right? You have to grow, going to high school and university. We're going to do that. But if we say science is the source of truth, then science had better rise to that occasion and prove and show that we are far more powerful than we think we are. We're falling asleep. And he showed that.
And I think one of the areas that came out of the pandemic, for me anyway, is instantly, well, I was slightly ahead of the curve if we were starting to teach therapeutic touch online, and they were saying at that point, you can't possibly do that. It must be in person. And it's working with the biofield. So we are working off the body. And we showed that it was possible. And then they still couldn't understand it until the next month. Only 4 weeks later, we're now all locked up in our houses, and they're looking at us saying, so exactly how did you do those presentations online? Because I think we need to look at that. It was just hilarious. And then all of a sudden we had knowledge. But what I really discovered out of that whole thing was I didn't have the same kind of loneliness, because I was instantly engaged with all the people that were on the other side of the screen.
Yes.
And I know for some people, they're really irritated by using the screen, but I instantly make that connection. And there's friends all over the world that I didn't have before because I had to drive. It's been absolutely fascinating. And
it is fascinating, isn't it? You're very gifted. You're very gifted. You give freely of your knowledge and heart. And I told you, subtle energies are not limited. We communicate in the physical through this English language and through this electromagnetic thing we call Zoom. But I'll tell you, subtle energies are not limited by that. And so therapeutic touch, so in medicine, that's another limitation. We feel that we have to shake a hand, be in that waiting room, and put our hand on them. It's helpful, but it's not absolutely necessary. You showed that. You showed that there is no limitation to your consciousness and your intention to give of yourself through that healing touch by your very presence. by your very consciousness and intention, because they will move mountains. Will move mountains.
And what's an interesting, we do a sound essence bath twice a month. And so we're using singing bowls and gongs and chimes. And I have a vibrational spray that mists over people. And we have some people that, because of the pandemic and what's going on, they haven't been able to travel yet, or they've gotten sick and then they can't travel again. So they just join us virtually, and virtually being not connected by Zoom, they just lie down at the time that we're going to do the session and they just wait to receive. And
Yes.
what has been so exciting for me through this whole pandemic is how fast we can change how somebody feels just by that connection. And people are noticing it through those sessions without entering the door, which is just amazing.
You just did information medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So exactly right. Exactly right. And you know, you brought an important spiritual teaching about we have a certain level of consciousness as a collective human species, you know, and we've been there's been a lot of turbulence in that field. But just like the seas are rough, when you pray and you do this healing, all the corks rise in the sea. They're all benefited, right? They all rise up. And so none of it is wasted. You know, people go, oh, your prayer, what's it going to do? Oh, really? Oh, really? You know, so they think you have to be here, you have to do it like this. No. So that is in a funny reverse way, the gift of the pandemic, that we are discovering our own power, that we can make a difference. And the other person, if they're willing, their intention plays a role now. They're in a receptive mode. And by the way, we're each other's teachers, right? They also are connecting into the field and they feed into it. They're relieved. My God, you know, they let a lot of the gunk go. Thank God. You said vibrational mist, the sounds. Sound is very powerful. Cymatics. So it will change materials very like this. Boom. And I also prescribe sound sometimes for my patients. Because again, it entrains the autonomic nervous system and the brain. You go into quick, very fast, you know, better than any, you know, frankly. So, you know, it's a question now, Michelle, I think, of re-educating people. Because I still hear a lot of, oh, doctor, I need a pill. And I go, what pill would you like here? You know, there's no pill. And if they have inflammation, well, of course, you know, I do my clinical work. I respect that. There's no question about it. But, you know, as a rheumatologist, one of the things I grapple with day and night, every day, is inflammatory diseases, because that's the prototype is rheumatology, okay, rheumatoid arthritis or lupus. And I'll tell you, Michelle, that most modern diseases, underlying that is inflammation. It's inflammation. You see a gray hair, you see a wrinkle on your skin, you have a cataract, you got bone disease, you got this, you got that, you got this, you got that. Inflammation. Where's that coming from? Where's inflammation coming from? I'll tell you, it's also coming from your emotions. And once you accept that, you know, I've seen Qigong masters and they're 90-some years old, they've got black hair. And you touch them and you say hello. It's like you're touching, wow, you know, this energetic being, full on life, because they're so efficient. This aging has to also go. So their mind, their emotion and mental well-being is intelligent. And they know how to move and live they don't have special diets and all that. They're just eating, but they know how to move and be in the world as it happens. We'll grow into that. I have full faith that, you know, humanity is now on its way. We will get there. One what you're doing, what I'm doing, we're all in this together, human family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's beautiful, isn't it?
It is, it is gorgeous. It is a gorgeous time to be alive. I'll tell you this, because we can see the possibility. Leave the fear out. And
Mm-hmm.
if you have any anxiety about anything, you know, there are changes, there are. I mean, we can't ignore that. We're not ostriches with our heads in the sandbox. We're going, okay, it is what it is. I'm going to go to Michelle Greenwell's. I'm going to lie down for the hour. I'm going to absorb those beautiful frequencies, or whatever you call it, the subtle energies. I'm connecting with the field. And when my head is clear, I'm going to go and write my intention and make those things happen. That's
Mm-hmm.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Write it out. That's what I do tell my patients. You see, when you hold something in mind, we tend to waver. And the key is to write it out. You're giving it a physical interpretation. It's in a book. You can go back and read it and revise it. It has
Mm-hmm.
power to do that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then when you try to bring in the senses, that's always interesting, because when you say to someone, you've set your intention, and then you say, now what does it smell like? And they go, what do you mean? What does it smell like? You know, I've got a sentence ready. I easily and joyfully finish my task today. And you go, okay, what does it smell like? And then you have to really bring that in. And the other one that was fun this week too is, what does it taste like? And
Yes.
we're so detached from all of our senses. We use
Yes.
our predominant, our visual and auditory, maybe tactile, and then the smell and the taste kind of get left behind. But what does it smell like when it's joy? What does it smell like when it's easy and flowing?
No, the whole body is sensing. The
Mm-hmm.
whole body can breathe. The whole body can see. The whole body, if you know how to breathe and out and
Mm-hmm.
breathe again, you know, and then you can see the fully aliveness of every intelligent bit that's connected. You know, I'm doing this rheumatoid relief course, and one of the it's absolutely clear that as they tap into their energy sources, they can visualize and see the connections between each cell, tendon, ligament. There's a perfection. Just because it's a little imbalanced, you are going to get it back to harmony, because we are that powerful. So you're right. Our whole body is sensual. Our whole body can see, taste, feel, smell. Okay. And that has been shown by yogis, by the way. So
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
absolutely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very
Yeah.
wonderful. I just love everything you're saying about how you incorporate movement for them to reestablish a new baseline. And then
Mm-hmm.
another one and another one. You know, you're never static. It's
No,
not the end. It's not the end.
no, that's the exciting part, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just thinking too, as you were talking about medical and structure down to the cells. And when you go to that heart space and you've got that nice deep breathing, and what I really delight in from my Tai Chi background is the space in between each of the joints. And then what does
Mhm.
that space feel like? And we don't really reflect on that while we're doing Tai Chi, but if you just ask to, I guess it would be bring that intention in of noticing where are the spaces, and
Mhm.
that just completely transforms what's happening. So as you were saying, check in with your heart, and what is it saying to you? That's the space. and
Yes.
um and that space can exist all the way through.
One of the biggest mysteries in science, and I've mentioned one, consciousness, and certainly in medicine, we think it's in the brain. We study brains, and it's limited. It's not a material thing, it's a field. But the other big mystery, Michelle, is what is space?
Mm-hmm.
What is contained in the space? Because it's more prevalent, because matter is just 5% of nature. We think it's, oh, look at all this stuff. No, it's mostly empty space. What does that mean? Because my bottom is sitting on this chair, which feels quite solid. Thank you very much. I'm not falling through it. So what gives it that solidity, right? All the atoms and molecules are actually, they have bonds, electromagnetic forces that hold the thing together. But actually, if you really look at the reality, it is empty space.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, that's where another magical thing happens. But I'm going to leave it there because I want your nice people to dive
Breathe.
into bridging science and spirit. I want them to go there because, you know, we're taking out certain pieces out of here for healing, for inflammation, and all that, and intention, and redefining consciousness. But ultimately, Michelle, physical vacuum is what the physicists call it, but it's not really a vacuum. Vacuum means the absence of the physical thing, the physical vacuum, absence of the word in front of vacuum. You don't have
Mm-hmm.
electrons and stuff. What is in there? What is in
Mm-hmm.
there? Fields. And out of the fields comes materials. And who tickles the field? Well, you do. And I do. We're
Mm-hmm.
manifestors, okay? We're alchemical beings. Once you know that, you go, oh my God.
How
Because
beautiful.
it is incredible because, you know, the reality is this, and this has been calculated. This is calculated by quantum mechanical, and this was John Wheeler out of Princeton. If you calculate the amount of energies in the physical vacuum, one hydrogen atom, the empty space in one hydrogen atom, which is a nucleus and one electron sort of whirling around, okay? But there's a lot of empty space. And if you calculate the amount of energy containing one hydrogen atom, it exceeds all of the cosmos to 15 billion light years. Can you even wrap your head around that? We can't.
No, but it
We
makes
can't,
it
right?
makes that space when you think about, okay, I want that space in the joint. There's a lot of space that you can create in there. But not even looking at a cell structure. That's yeah, wow.
Wow is right. So your space in Tai Chi that you're feeling has great potential. Has great potential.
Mm-hmm.
If I just say this is the calculated amount and all the experts agree, well, okay, that has to filter into our daily life as reality, as fact. And instead, we get, I don't know, jumbled with all these other things, other details. No,
Mm-hmm.
we should be distracted. No more distractions. This is science.
Mm-hmm.
This is spiritual interacting now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And I'm just thinking about your students, students, clients,
Yes.
patients, arthritis, and thinking about when you can wrap your head around that idea, because when you're thinking about an inflamed joint as
Yeah.
you're thinking about a structural piece, but it's an
Yes.
inflamed joint. It still has space. It still has the potential of space. It's amazing.
Yes. And you know, once they get into subtle energies and they get familiar with how that feels, now they can consciously direct it and do, as you're doing, therapeutic touch on themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So I would predict that once we're doing this consistently with people, then they are going to call their doctor's office much less steroids, much less medicines. We can use the drugs, it's okay. But now you have a potential to really embrace that whole aspect of human existence, you know, not just you're a biochemical and that's it, and you have inflammation and I can feel it, and but there's much more here. That's what
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think
Mm-hmm.
if we do it consistently and teach the new medical curriculum, then I think we could really move forward in medicine.
Mm-hmm.
More
Absolutely.
of lifestyle and supplements. Those are good too. But I think where you and I are going is really into subtle energies, which are very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going, duh. Come on, I mean, I don't even know where to. I told you a little bit here, but boy, we have real medicine now. Okay. And by the way, it doesn't cost anything. It's free. You don't need prescriptions for it. Wow. No side effects. Whoa. Right. People say, oh, well, people worry about these things with prescriptions. And so if you look at it from that perspective, come on. And we need to save our health systems because they're under strain.
Yeah. 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 And then you have that piece of self-empowerment, and it's like, I don't know if I can hold on to that power. That's what many people shy away from, right? And so,
Oh yes, they feel there's a false hope, or I'll lose it. No, you won't. Okay, I'll tell you this. Subtle energies that are installed in you, it is already there by nature. It doesn't leave you. It's why we can talk to each other. It's a universal life power. You're connected. There's not a big cable, but you can, if it helps you to imagine that universal life power cannot be cut off. All you need to know is that it's there, understand it, and all mammals actually have it. You can't lose it. You just can't lose it. You can have degrees of engagement with the pump. I call it the energy pump.
yep.
And in you're pumping and conditioning that pump, or you can sit in front of the couch and watch night football. That's up to you.
Yep.
That's up to you. I mean, but you cannot. So if people are feeling a little like doubtful and hopeless, like, oh no, it'll go away. No, it can't. So go back and do it again and again, and do it more. Do it more. Teach your grandchildren. Now do it more. More. What are you going to do with this? Do it more. Oh, I feel great, doctor. Do it more. Okay. Go back and do it some more.
Oh, it's so delightful to have this conversation and to feel the lightness of the conversation, right? And when you're looking at how you approach the people that you interact with and influence and inspire, what a different conversation, especially when you bring in that hope and that opportunity, that optimism, that it's all
You
there.
think I'm a little weird. I'm not.
No, no, no,
Somatic. You're like
no.
your name. So you're right. I think the conversation, I'll tell you this, Michelle, and this really is the truth. People are starved for something from the heart. Okay. And not only are they starved, but the doctors are too. Because when I give lectures, and at the end they come and I'm sometimes mobbed. I knew this to be true. Oh my God, I just didn't know where to look because I told you the medical journals have nothing about this. I took the time, that's all. I know they can too, but I took a decision, and that's okay. Just pick up my book, listen to a lecture. You can get there. There's no rocket science here. So not only are people starved, they're starved, Michelle, if I can really say it like that, and my colleagues are starved. They too know there's a bigger picture. How do we get there? How do we get there, right? And first they dabble in supplements and lifestyle, which is a really good step. Then they go to, oh, there's Tai Chi and there's Qigong. Lovely. Then they do a bit of yoga. Then they teach breathing. Perfect. Now they're on their way. But they do it on their own. Medical school hasn't taught them this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting to think about too, the compassion for the physicians who are starved. That's a really interesting way to put it, because as somebody's going into the doctor and expecting them to have all the answers and just fix the problem, to realize they also are starving for that information. And then,
Yeah.
like you said, it's a mutual journey of discovery.
Yes. Yes. You reminded me of many, many, many clinical cases where, they've had excellent care, Michelle, just beautiful conventional care. And then they come for another opinion, and you look at the MRI and this, and you go, can I ask you a few things? When, and you lead them there, and they feel the safety because you have paid attention to all of this data. Now let's go here. Let's go here. Are you ready? And they'll go. From their eyes, they're ready. And you say, let's see, and I use this word, what is the miracle in the shoulder or this neck? What is it saying to you? Because, structurally it seems okay, but you're not okay. And they go, I know, doctor, nobody listens to me. I said, okay, but let's go there. Can we go there? Okay. And they get nuggets.
Mm-hmm.
And they make the connections, not up to me, but you're right. You're right. The other doctors didn't have the chance to give the space, pun is intended here, to give the space
Mm-hmm.
for the patient to go and in the safety of that interaction to say, there must be something more. This is not in your head. Something has happened to you. Let's look at it together.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't tell you how many times people give me information and they're so bug-eyed, like, God, and they make the connections. And there's lots of Kleenex, lots of
Mm-hmm.
tears.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay. It's okay. Because we have the capacity to survive a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things. And the right brain and the subconscious hold information for healing. But we have to go there. But medicine, again, has to have the space. We're in 10-minute visits, 15-minute visits, and off you go, right? Another patient, another. It's like a conveyor belt almost. But so you need the heart and the time just to say, okay, I hear you. Something's wrong. We're going to explore it. You're safe.
Mm-hmm.
Occasionally, sometimes a patient will say, doctor, I'm not quite ready. They'll know. They don't even know why they're saying that. And go, it's
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I often say to the students that I have that they might be in a Tai Chi class, but we might be in a seated movement class. And I'll say, just sneak it in whenever you have a chance. Like when you're sitting in the doctor's office and you're waiting and they're a little bit behind, do some foot exercises, move your arms. The people beside you will wonder what you're doing, but then they'll be wishing they were doing it too, because they'll be thinking, oh, I could pass the time this way too. But the interesting thing about that is by the time they get into the appointment, that whole system has calmed down. They have the space, they've got the nice deep breathing. And sometimes the pain isn't there. What they came in
Yes.
for has already found its way out.
Resolved.
Yeah.
Yes.
And now
Yes.
it's a
That's
completely different conversation. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Very wise. Michelle, that's living your wisdom, living your understanding every moment. You're not going to say, oh, I'll start my Tai Chi next week when I have a little time. No, you're saying you have created this space. Now do it. And actually, I've seen in supermarkets sometimes. I live in California. They're very, very health nut people, and you can tell, that they're balancing. They'll do a little bit of one and I can tell this is a martial art person. This is this person knows a little bit of Pilates, and so on. So you're right. You're living your wisdom and not waiting for some magical time, because it doesn't exist. So do it now and do it in the doctor's office. Very wise.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Love that.
You'll have a chart up in your office next. While you're waiting, here are the 3 things you should do.
Yeah.
Too funny. I
And
hadn't thought
that's
about
just
that
it.
before.
Yeah, and that's just it. You see, that's why I say, I think we will reduce the reliance on the model that we have created, that the doctor has some answers, when really it is about energy, the subtle energy channels, and respecting that, and breathing. All of those things have a important, absolute core role in resolution of all the physical ailments. And once we do that, I think we're going to save a lot of headaches in medical and all the costly things that we're doing, right? Because sometimes I see $500,000 worth of investigations and they're now 10th opinion, which happens to be me. And I think, no, I don't think it's anything structural, and it's not in your head either. Pardon the pun, head.
Yeah.
But consciousness is everywhere. But you see, that then you explore the subconscious and its gifts, and wow, you get an answer.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Do you want to, because I know you and I could just keep going, which is lovely, lovely, particularly in anything to do with intention. Do you want to talk just a little bit about your book so people understand what's in it, and if it's something that they really want to look at, how they can find it?
Sure. So I came from a very medical scientific background, and I said, I really wanted to know what is bigger than just biochemistry or chemistry, which is what chemical medicine is all about. And that's where I left to study, and I created the conditions to be able to do this on my own terms. Okay. And I would meet with William Tiller in Arizona. I moved from Minnesota to Arizona to Scottsdale. And I was with him for a good 5 years or so. Every Thursday, we would meet for 2 hours, and I recorded all of that. And I took notes, and I was very diligent, like left brain, that kind of thing. But it was clear to me, Tiller. And from that came the major aspects of bridging science and spirit. Because if we are going to unite these two big pillars of knowledge, Tiller always came from the perspective science and spirit are complementary ways to knowledge. They're complementary. And I used to complain to Tiller, well, science will never get through to spirit and all that. And he says, oh, really? Science is a way to self-knowledge. You can discover your own by the finer questions. By that, you can know yourself. It's really true. And so bridging science and spirit, it is divided into 7 sections, 7 pillars. Okay. The first pillar is, okay, here we are in science, in medicine. How did we arrive here? And what is revolutionary about science anyway? Who decides what's revolutionary, right? All of those questions. What is the fact about medical science as we see it now, this moment? And I lay it out. And I touch a little bit on the subtle energies there and my struggles to find the answer about the human biofield. The second pillar is about consciousness, and it's not the brain. I'm just going to say that. Okay. And then we get into the third pillar, which is all about energy. We often talk about everything we see around us is energy. Yeah, it surely is. It's a fundamental way how we move in nature. And we have the sun's energy, but we also have a sun inside of us, which is radiating out. But I talk about energy in all of its very scientific terminology. Okay. Pillar number 4 is where Tiller's experiments come in. And that's where I really unraveled his protocol, because he really speaks like a physicist. I mean, you can't understand the man, but I was determined. So pillar number 4 goes into this fantastic thing, evidence-based, that human intention can change this water. It can change enzymes. It can change living systems in a beneficial direction. Unequivocally, I can say that. Pillar number 5, we come into the physical vacuum, because there's a secret of why his effect size were not just a little random blip. They were huge signals like, you cannot do this. Okay, in science you go, oh my God, this is reproducible, quantifiable. Okay, that's science with ordinary instruments. Okay, that's pillar 5, physical vacuum, where he shows where the missing piece in human intention really starts to really get juicy. Pillar 6, information medicine, and I give case reports and how Tiller has healed groups of people, depression, autistic children. My case report of this gentleman with arthritis, I lay it all out, okay? That's information medicine. Final pillar, we took Tiller's protocol and proved spiritual realities are, they're more real than you and me can ever imagine. And my partner in science for pillar number 7 was Buddha himself, Lord Buddha, okay? And I will leave it there because how can Lord Buddha be Nisha's scientific partner? Well, he was, okay? He was. And we showed that Tiller's protocol and intention is absolutely spot on. And that's why I say he was 100 years ahead of his time. You know, why do people know about him, right? People, oh, nobody knows about him. Well, just because the energy channels are invisible, they still exist. And just because Tiller is not well known, he is, it's not a popularity contest, people. It's about the truth. That's what, so, oh, come on. You know, he's not Deepak Chopra, but he's William Tiller. And I mean, people are, if they know Tiller, he was a sage. A sage is a man who is not just a scientific excellence. He is a sage. He is a teacher worthy of your attention. And I'm so glad that I had him as a mentor for all those years because he was such a gift to me. He passed away last year. He was in his 90s. Just wonderful. He was doing research until the year before that, 2021. And so I miss him greatly because he was such a tremendous mind, a kind mind. He said science should be for the benefit of humankind, not just conveniences, but to show them that they are really evolving. You and I, Michelle, are on our way to becoming avatars. We're avatars in training. How about that? That's the promise of killer science. I mean, I started the thing with intention. It's a tool to create bigger things like Master Jesus did. You shall create these things and greater things than these too, right? There's a biblical teaching. So like that, Tiller says you're meant to create more and more. Don't become limited. And his science opens the way that that is true. That's a scientific fact. So it's been a joy. Honestly, I can say, wow. What's to like here? You know, come on, you know?
Yeah. You know, and in 2015, at that time it was CANASC, the Canadian Association of Specialized Kinesiology, and Brain Gym, and International Kinesiology College. They all formed together in 2015. We had Tiller at our conference in Banff. Yeah, in Banff.
In Banff, that's right. He would go there. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So you know Tiller.
I did meet him. Yeah.
So what a mentor. And kinesiology, that's subtle energy work. It's not your muscle responding, you know, your muscle test. And no, it's your subtle energies doing that. It's very fast.
And it's fast, and it's so interesting, the information. And then the discoveries when you get out of your head. And what you start to discover.
It's more accurate, if I can say, than blood testing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and that's interesting. Yeah. From a rheumatologist.
But when you do kinesiology, you know, you go, oh, yeah, you cannot override this person's subtle energy fields because everyone has this, right? And it is responding to its environment, to its foods, its water, all of these things. It's always gauging it, and it's super fast. Boom. So once we, that's the other I would say, gap in medical education. If they would teach students, we will bypass so much course stuff. I mean, it's like, wow, it's such a drag, you know. I mean, I do it, but I'm
Yeah.
expected to do it, you might say, and I do it. It's fine.
Yeah.
There's this whole other area, you know. So I'm so glad you said, yeah, Tiller used to come to BAM. He was from Toronto.
Oh, I didn't realize he was Canadian. Well, that's
He was
interesting.
Canadian. Oh, yes, he used to say a boat a lot.
Hey.
Yeah. He and Gene Tiller and Bill Tiller, they were from Toronto. Yeah.
Beautiful.
He moved to the US, I think it was Westinghouse and then DuPont, and then he got this academic position at Stanford. And Gene says, I don't like cold weather. Let's move to California, Bill. And they did well. You know, it was so cool. And yeah, beautiful people.
Mm-hmm. Ah,
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah.
So as we close up here, how can people find you?
Oh, yes. Thanks, Michelle. Well, Bridging Science and Spirit is on Amazon, and it's on print, Kindle, audio, read by a Broadway winning actor. So please, it's a really, and he even pronounced the equations fine. So, but the book is illustrated. So I am a visual learner. And so the print versions are, people write to me all the time that if anything, the print version was so fun because you're hilarious. Yes, I am hilarious. And how they can find me is nishamanekmd.com. That's it.
Beautiful. Awesome.
Yeah. Michelle,
Now,
thank
thank you. Thank you. Do you have a movement pattern that you'd like to share with people? Always try to do something to get people to think about taking the moments to move.
Yeah, I would just say, do this. Hug yourself. Hug yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Bring the joy back in. Yeah.
Hug yourself. You know, tomorrow is Valentine's, and I wrote a short MailChimp, if I may share it with you. I wrote it today, and between patients, because if love is the answer, how do you get more love in your life? And the answer
Mhm.
is you can't. Love is the essence of that which you are. You are already that. What you have to do is let go of the obstacles to love. You let go of the beliefs, all of that. Once you let go, you are the chosen one. You are the heaven on earth. You are the one you're looking for. That's it. You are the
Wow.
one you're looking for. Yeah, that's my Valentine's little ditty there.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So, so if I was to add on to that, then, and this would be coming from my colleague Paula Noack-Droog, um,
Uh-huh.
who I did quite a few events with last year. So if you were to take your hands and bring them together at your heart center, and then just take them up to the forehead, and then just make a heart around your forehead and down off your chin.
Yes.
And then if you go a little bit bigger, so you go kind of up over the head and let that
Mhm.
heart come back down to your heart space.
Mhm.
And then if you make it bigger, so it fills up your whole biofield, you're going to take it up over your head, let it come all the way around. And when you finish with that heart at the bottom, you're touching to the earth.
Yeah,
And we'll give ourselves those 3 hearts.
very
Beautiful.
good. It is
Awesome.
beautiful. Michelle, thank you. It's been so much fun. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, lovely. I'm just, I'm in awe the way that you have researched, um, taken your profession, taken the studies that you have, and so respectfully and intuitively dived into the areas that really need to be melded, and what you're going to bring to the conversations for those tired patients and those tired doctors, and bringing that
Yeah.
opportunity to really expand and bring that space and open it back up again so that we can all be thriving. So I thank you very much for the gifts you're offering to your profession, and then en masse to wherever it is we're going in the
Yes.
health and wellness field. So thank you.
Michelle, thank you for, we are fellow travelers on this road we call life. So I honor what you're bringing to that whole subtle energy field. Because every time you're doing that, you're pumping the field to higher levels and all the corks are rising. So,
I love that vision. Beautiful. Oh, you've been listening to Be Well with Michelle Greenwell, and this episode has been sponsored by Dance Debut Inc., providing movement programs to create a flourishing lifestyle while achieving your goals and ambitions and enjoying the activities on your bucket list. And if you are a desk-bound person spending lots of time at your computer, or maybe you're in a car, or you've been in appointments and you're sitting all the time, then consider my new program, which is taking intention into balancing business. And you can learn more about that at dancedebut.com. And also the Cape Breton Tea Company. This is where my heart just gets to sing a little bit with being able to bring intention into tea, because we have our whole line of teas. There's 14 all based on intention. So bringing a little of our countryside and hospitality from Cape Breton Island into your home with the taste, sounds, and smells that are Cape Breton, Nova Scotia. And you can find the Cape Breton Tea Company at CB Company, spelled out, .square.site. And thank you so much for listening today. And oh, it's been delightful. Thank you very much.
thank you, Michelle.